Hello and welcome to GCP Hello World for Java. I'm your instructor Matt, and today we'll be deploying a very simple Java web application to Google Cloud Platform. To do that, we're going to need to set up our GCP account, create a GCP project, and set up some industry standard tools like Git, Maven, and of course, Java itself. I'm super excited you decided to take this lesson today. Let's get started. Before you do anything else, you'll need to activate your free trial of GCP. To do that, go to console.cloud.google.com in your web browser and click the button in the upper right corner that says Sign up for free trial. You'll need to agree to the terms of service, and then you'll need to enter in some personal information and set up a payment account. But don't worry too much, because you won't be charged when the free trial ends unless you manually upgrade to a paid account. Awesome. This is the home page of the GCP console, and it means your GCP account is active. But we can't do anything until we create a project, so click Create. Let's name it Hello World. Note that the project ID updates as well. The name of your project can be anything meaningful to you, but the project ID is a globally unique identifier for your project. In other words, your project ID has to be the first of its kind in the whole wide world. It'll take a few seconds for this new project to be created and show in the console, but here it is. Our project, its name, and its ID. Nice. Next, let's install the Google Cloud Platform SDK, or Software Development Kit. The SDK will let us and our code manage GCP resources from the command line. This approach is the main way that programmers interact with GCP because it can be automated by using scripts or computer code. To download the GCP SDK, open up a new tab and go to cloud.google.com/SDK in your web browser. My browser can tell that I'm on a Mac, and I'll click Install for Mac OS X to get started. You do the same in your browser. This takes me to the quick start. There are a couple of steps to get the SDK set up. We'll need Python 2.7, which is installed by default on Mac OS X, but let's just check to be sure. So I'll go to the terminal and type Python-V, which attempts to ask my local Python installation for its version number. And it looks good. Make sure yours starts with 2.7 also. Next, we'll download the SDK itself, which might take a few minutes. Once downloaded, let's go back to the command line. And before we extract the SDK from a single compressed file into a usable form, let's set up a directory for this and other tools we'll be downloading for this lesson. You can set this directory up anywhere you like, but it's a good idea to pick something obvious so you can easily find it later. I'm going to create mine in my home directory, in a new directory called dev. You can type mkdir to make a new directory, and then let's type cd to go into that new directory. Next, let's extract the SDK so we can use it. It's in a tar.gz file, which, if unfamiliar to you, is a lot like a zip file. It's easy to handle. Just type tar-x for extract, f for file name, and type the file name of the file you downloaded, including its location. I use Chrome, which downloads to the home/downloads directory by default, so I'll type tilde, which means home directory, downloads, Google, and then tab to autocomplete the file name. Autocomplete wouldn't have worked quite as well if there was more than one file in my downloads directory that started with Google-, but in this case it saves me a ton of typing and remembering the details of the file name. Hit enter and let's check the results. Excellent. We've unpacked this Google Cloud SDK directory and its contents. Next, let's run the install script. The script takes care of many useful things for us, mainly adding G-Cloud tools to our path and letting us tab to autocomplete some commands. We can cut and paste from here or just type it in. Dot for the current directory, /Google Cloud SDK /install.sh. Let's just move through the defaults here. Don't worry if your defaults are a bit different. We need to open a new shell window for things to be in effect, so let's just use Command-T to open a new tab, and I'll close the old tab. Next, let's initialize the gcloud command line tools. This will connect our command line tools to our GCP account, so we're able to launch, deploy, and configure resources, as well as setting up some defaults like which project we'll use and which part of the world we want our resources to live in. So let's cd into Google Cloud SDK and run gcloud init to kick off the initialization. Now, I've already done this on my machine, so I'm already authenticated to my GCP account. But if this is your first time running gcloud init, then at a certain point you will be redirected to your browser to log into your Google account. This is really important for making sure you can launch new resources. It's how the gcloud command line tool knows you're really you. I'm just going to reconfigure my default configuration, and after some checks are done, I'll choose the account I've already authenticated. Then I'll choose my Igneos Ethos project, since that's what I set up in the GCP console for the Quick Start. You'll of course choose the project you've created for your Quick Start. If you forgot the name, you can always check in the GCP console. It looks like we haven't set up any compute resources on our project yet. The compute resources are the GCP virtual machines that will actually run the Quick Start project. We'll definitely want to do that, so let's hit Enter and accept the default of Yes. That's why the Y is capitalized, by the way. It's the default. And yes, let's configure Google Compute Engine settings now, too. Here we'll set the default zone, or where in the world we want our virtual machines to run by default. I'm on the west coast of the US, so I'll choose US West 1B, which is option 19. Awesome! We just fully set up the gcloud SDK command line and we are good to go. Let's make sure by running gcloud config list, and here we can see the options we specified during setup. Let's also run gcloud info, and here we can see even more information about our GCP account, and everything looks great. Now you can do just about anything in GCP right from this command line. If you type gcloud help, the tool will list out all the available options with some documentation. Here we see how to change accounts, projects, manage your resources, run commands, and a whole lot more. Great work! You started your GCP trial, you created your first project, you installed the Google Cloud Platform SDK, and set up the gcloud command line tool. You're in good shape. Now it's time to install some prerequisites for our Java Hello World project. We're going to download a few tools we need to build and run the project, specifically Git to check out the code, Maven to build the code, and of course, Java to run the code. All of these links are available on one of Google's documentation pages. So in our web browser, let's visit cloud.google.com/java/getting-started/hello world. You can scroll down to the download and install Git link, which just opens a window to git-scm.com. Now, Git is the industry standard for getting and submitting code over the internet, and there are a number of ways to get Git, but this one is really straightforward. I'm on a Mac, so I'll click Download for Mac, and I've already downloaded and installed Git, but if you haven't, just walk through the default installation steps and everything should work great. Now let's install Java. I'm just going to Google download JDK 8. JDK stands for Java Development Kit and includes everything you need to write and run Java code on your computer. The first Google hit should point to the Oracle site, and that's the one you want. Don't forget to accept the license agreement and download the JDK for your operating system. Again, in my case, this is Mac OS X. The JDK is pretty big, so this download might take a while. I've already installed the JDK, so I'm not going to walk through those steps, but all you have to do is open the file and walk through the defaults for installation. Once that installation is complete, you're ready to install Maven. Maven builds and deploys the code for us, which means packaging it up and putting it where we can get to it from a web browser. Maven can even start up our web server. Let's go back to the Hello World instruction page for the link. And this page reminds me that we should make sure Maven isn't already installed. So let's do that now in our terminal by typing mvn-v for version. Nope, not installed. That's what command not found means. It means the terminal has no idea what we're trying to do with that command. So back to the browser and click to go to Maven's site. There are some options here, but let's choose the tar.gz since we already learned how to deal with those. Once it's done downloading, let's go back to our command line to set it up. Now, the first thing we need to do is tell Maven where Java is, since Maven uses Java commands to build and deploy our code. We'll do that by setting an environment variable, which means that we'll point the name Java_home at our Java installation. Maven and other services we may use in the future will point to this name, which will in turn point to our actual Java installation directory. When we deploy to GCP, the location of Java will be different, but since tools use environment variables like Java_home, the GCP environment will still use that name to point to their Java installation, and things will work the same. First, let's confirm the environment variable isn't already set up by typing echo $Java_home. This will print the current value of the variable to the terminal. It's empty. Perfect. That means it's not set. To set it, we'll type export Java_home equals $/usr/lib exec/Java_home. Now let's echo it again to make sure we're good. And we are. To be absolutely sure Java is set up and accessible from everywhere, let's ask Java for its version number by typing Java-V. Oh, whoops, unrecognized option. That's not the right syntax. How about Java-version? There we go. Java is all set up. Now we can unpack and install Maven. Type cd ... which brings us up into our dev directory, and let's unpack Maven here. Like before, type tar xf home downloads Apache and tab to autocomplete. Hit enter and type ls to list out the directory contents, and there we go, Maven alongside the Google Cloud SDK. We want to be able to run Maven from anywhere, so we'll need to add it to the path. Path is another environment variable that lets us do exactly that. Like before, let's export path equals home dev Apache Maven 3.5.0/bin. This is our unpacked Maven directory. We'll also add $path to the end because we want to append this new Maven info to our path rather than replace it. And hit enter. Now we should be all set up with Maven. Let's confirm by typing mvn-v again. Awesome. We just finished setting up all of our prerequisite tools. We set up Git and Java and Maven. Now let's get a clean slate here in our terminal by typing clear to start fresh before we move on. All right, Now it's time to check out the code to our computer, deploy it locally, and finally deploy it to Google Cloud Platform, where it'll be available to anyone on the internet. Let's go back to the Hello World doc, where the link to the code is. And you can cut and paste it right from here, or just type it out on the command line with git clone https://github.com/Google Cloud Platform/getting started Java. This will clone or copy the contents of that repository to our local machine. Awesome. Next, let's build and run things locally to see Hello World in action. cd into getting started Java, and you'll notice here that my terminal has some additional info, which yours may not. It knows I'm in a directory that's cloned from Git, and it's showing me some additional info about the Git repository itself. That's because I'm using a shell called ZSH. I really love ZSH, and if you're interested, you can get it from ohmyzsh.com. I won't install it in this video, but installation is super easy, and if you're curious, I do recommend installing it and giving it a spin. Okay, back to the terminal. Let's list the contents of this getting started directory and cd into Hello World Servlet. This is where our build instructions and code live for this particular Hello World example. Maven can build and run this code locally if we use mvn jetty :run-exploded. This may take a long time, and you may see even more dependencies being downloaded than you see here if you're running this for the first time. Once you see started Jetty server, you're ready to check things out in your browser. Jetty is a lightweight web server that serves up our Hello World site at the location localhost :8080. So type that in now and hit enter. Wonderful. Hello World. If you see this, you've successfully installed and deployed the Hello World servlet locally. This required Git for the code, Java to build and run, and Maven to build and deploy. Nice work. Now let's deploy this incredibly useful servlet to Google Cloud Platform. Back to the terminal. We need to use Control-C to exit the Jetty server, and let's clear the console. Let's check the Quick Start doc for our deploy instructions. We'll make sure our project ID is correct using gcloud, and then we'll use another Maven command to deploy to GCP. You'll need your project ID for this command, and remember that if you've forgotten it, you can get it here in the GCP console. In my case, it's Igneous Ethos 166019, but yours will be different. I'm going to cut and paste it this time. So let's follow these instructions and go to our terminal and set the project with gcloud config set project, and here I'll paste in my project name. When you're ready to deploy, type mvn appengine: deploy. Maven will download a bunch of dependencies required to deploy the code, and then it will deploy. Looks like there was a problem. This happens all the time in real life, so like real life, let's read the friendly error message and get some ideas for how to fix it. Okay, about halfway up it says, the current project does not contain an App Engine application. Use gcloud app create to initialize one within the project. Okay, let's try that. gcloud app create. And I'll choose a region close to me. In this case, I'll choose US East 1, but yours may differ, of course, and let's see what happens. Success. Okay, let's see if that means we can deploy with Maven now. I'll use the up arrow, which shows my last few terminal commands, and when I see the Maven command again, I'll hit enter to deploy. You can just type it in if you like. So here I'm speeding up the video. See how it says this may take a while? Well, for me it took several minutes. So just stick with it and be patient. Grab a beverage of your choice and don't rush it. Mine took a long time, especially here where it was updating service. Eventually, you'll see build success, and now you're ready to see the spoils of your labor. Go back to your browser and enter in the GCP URL, which will be your project name .appspot.com. And look at that, hello world. And it's on the public internet, available to anyone in the world with a web browser. Great work. You've successfully completed this lesson, and in doing so, you've set up Google Cloud, the Google Cloud SDK, Git, Maven, Java, and you've learned a ton. Thanks for spending time with me today, and keep up your momentum by completing more lessons. See you soon.